Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the President and CEO of the Atlantic Council, Frederick Kempe.
Good morning, everyone. Your Excellency, President Nishani, Your Excellency, Minister Yıldız, Your Excellency, Commissioner Cañete, Your Excellency, Secretary Moniz, Excellencies, board members of the Atlantic Council, International Advisory Board members of the Atlantic Council, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 6th Energy and Economic Summit of the Atlantic Council. And this is our 5th year in a row in Istanbul, where we hope to stay for a long time to come. As many of you may know, we are in the Tarabiya district of Istanbul. The unique Bosporus Yalis, or summer mansions around us, were inhabited by wealthy Albanians, Greek merchants, Ottoman administrative elite, Russian Jews, and European diplomats, epitomizing the multi-ethnic character of Istanbul throughout the centuries. It is such a great pleasure to see the place buzzing again, with an exquisite crowd here, an attestation to the rediscovered centrality of Istanbul, Turkey, and the region around it. The site of this hotel itself is a piece of living history. The original structure was built by the owner of the once legendary Hotel Pera that Ataturk considered his favorite place to go, and Agatha Christie wrote Murder on the Orient Express there. But as everyone in this room knows, we don't have to look backwards or to fiction for our current drama. We gather here each year because we believe at such times of upheaval, leadership matters. The world is in the middle of an inflection point, similar to critical years in human history such as 1815, the Congress of Vienna, 1919, the end of World War I, 1945, end of World War II, 1989, the end of the Cold War. This is a time every bit as dramatic. And in those times, human agency made the difference, for better or for worse. The stakes are enormous, and the path forward is uncertain. The international liberal order itself might be at stake. Looking ahead, there are alternative worlds, one characterized by economic and political volatility, environmental catastrophe, and conflicting nationalist and sectarian struggles, or another by cooperative rules-based order and peace and prosperity for all. That is why the Atlantic Council mission is, most simply put, working together to secure the future. Our ambition these next 2 days is to contribute to the thinking about our common future and to work with all of you to try to make it better. For the next 2 days, we hope to engage you, leading policymakers, leading business leaders, experts of the civil society, in productive conversation. You are the ones shaping the future. You define political, security, economic, and energy agendas. So we hope this summit will give you ideas and perspectives that will help you in that endeavor. By Friday afternoon, we want you energized by new ideas, new friends, and renewed acquaintances. Last but not least, we gather in Istanbul every year because the Atlantic Council considers Turkey a pivotal state for the future, not only of the transatlantic alliance in the region, but also the world. U.S. Assistant Secretary of State Victoria Nuland said so aptly last week at an event at the Atlantic Council in Washington, quote, "The alliance between the U.S. and Turkey is absolutely vital, not just for the two of us and our security, but now as an engine around the turbulent region." Before we get started, let me thank our partners for their vital support, and in particularly I want to call out our co-chairs, Borsa Istanbul, Chevron, Halkbank, MAPA, and Turkish Airlines. Please join me in applauding the co-chairs of this year's summit. But before we proceed, please also join me in stopping for a moment to remember someone who can no longer be with us and whose absence is sorely felt. This summit was the vision of our late International Advisory Board member, my friend, and a visionary business entrepreneur, Dinu Patriciu, who passed away this year. Dinu wanted, through this summit and through his engagement with the Dinu Patriciu Eurasia Center at the Atlantic Council, to create bridges in a region marred by centuries of division and conflict. He saw the bonds of humanity that tie together the people of the region. I'm so glad that his daughter, Anna Patriciu, and his right hand and trusted friend, Melanie Chen, where are the two of you? That you are here with us on Dinu's behalf. We're proud, Anna, to honor his legacy and dream, and we'll work tirelessly to fulfill it. Please join me in applauding the memory of Dinu Patriciu. It's now my particular privilege to introduce the chairman of the Atlantic Council at his first Istanbul summit. When our previous chairman answered President Obama's call to become Secretary of Defense, after his predecessor had answered President Obama's call to become National Security Advisor, and Governor Huntsman, who knows what kind of call you may have to answer if you stay in this job long enough. General Brent Scowcroft stepped up to be chairman on an interim period, and at one point, because the interim had gone on so long, he accused me of trying to make him the permanent interim chairman. The problem was it's really hard to find the right person to fill this job because the person has to embody what the Atlantic Council is about. But I'm delighted that we found that person and convinced Governor John Huntsman to come on board. He is the embodiment of the Atlantic Council's bipartisan spirit domestically, its international engagement, its results orientation, and its determination to act in a principled manner. He served as Democratic President Obama's ambassador to China. He also served as as Republican governor of the great state of Utah, where he was widely considered one of the most effective state executives in our country. More than a few American voters were disappointed that his presidential candidacy did not succeed. John Huntsman is a wise statesman. He's a seasoned diplomat. He's a successful business person, and he's a wonderful human being. And I would say all those things even if he weren't my boss. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our chairman, Governor John Huntsman.
Thank you, Fred. You keep making introductions like that, and I'll be hanging around with you for a long time. Thank you, one and all, friends, special guests. It's an honor to be able to welcome you here in Istanbul. It is an immense pleasure, personally, to be back in a city I love, in a country that I deeply admire. Now, the Atlantic Council was founded more than 50 years ago to advocate for and strengthen the transatlantic relationship. Today, our focus is to renew the transatlantic alliance to address global 21st century challenges, a purpose that led us straight here to Turkey, a dynamic country with huge significance on the global stage, with a foot in both Europe and Asia, and strong ties to the Middle East. Turkey provides an ideal platform for discussions on emerging challenges and opportunities in the region, and indeed around the world. In holding the summit as an annual event, the Council demonstrates commitment to U.S. engagement in this vital region as well as to the value of working with partners and friends toward developing common approaches and strategies that promote prosperity, stability, and peace. Joining us here, many of you are back for a second time, maybe a third, and a fourth time. You'll all take advantage of the forum that this unique summit provides to develop new relationships, we hope transact a little business, and grow ties among our countries. But let me remind you, as Fred has already said, that any business transacted under the banner of the Atlantic Council, we have a claim on 10% of whatever the transactional value is. Now, we're living through turbulent times. We all recognize that. As the era of awakening enters into its fifth year, countries in this region are facing unrelenting political and social upheaval. Regional stability is increasingly threatened by the war in Syria and Iraq. Economic problems are buffeting the region as well as the world. Major shifts in the global energy markets have increasingly significant geopolitical repercussions, not least in the Middle East. And a resurgent Russia is challenging the vision of a Europe whole, free, and at peace. Now, there are glimmers of hope which cannot be dismissed when evaluating the region. We may see a breakthrough on Iran's nuclear dossier, and with that, an end to the country's extreme estrangement from much of the international community. Moves to stabilize Iraq through a new, more inclusive government, and growing Arab-Kurdish confidence is heartening. The unconventional oil and gas revolution, coupled with decreasing costs for renewables and breakthroughs in energy technology, may fuel a new period of more affordable and cleaner energy that will help tackle climate change, end energy poverty, and perhaps power new engines of global growth, which are so desperately needed. So thank you one and all for being part of this summit. I hope we will meet here in Istanbul for many years to come. And our deepest gratitude, as always, to the sponsors who have joined with us this year as in the past, partners who have supported our efforts, who have developed this summit into what it is this year, the 2014 Energy and Economic Summit. Quite remarkable. We deeply appreciate these commitments to the Atlantic Council and to our overall mission. And now I'd like to turn the stage back over to our President and CEO, Fred Kempe. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. Just one more person to salute here. President Alexander Kwasniewski of Poland, former president, member of our International Advisory Board, who brought Poland into the European Union and NATO. 60th birthday on Saturday. Happy birthday, 100 lat, President Kwasniewski. This summit is a flagship initiative of the Council that anchors our work on these strategic challenges as a team effort. I'm so proud of the work our team is doing. I hope you'll get to meet them during the course of these 2 days and talk to them. I'm certainly not going to announce and introduce them all here, but I do want to introduce 4 new members of our staff and 2 new members of our board, which will underscore how committed we are to this region and to the pursuit of energy issues. So first, when I finish reading your names, I'll have you all stand and have the audience applaud you. John Herbst joined us earlier this year after serving as U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, before that Ambassador to Uzbekistan, now Director of our Dinu Patriciu Eurasia Center. Frank Ricciardoni has joined us in September after serving as U.S. Ambassador to Turkey, before that Ambassador to Egypt, and he'll be leading the Atlantic Council's Rafik Hariri Middle East Center. These people are all well known to you. David Karanyi, the former National Security Advisor of Hungary, he's not new to us, but he's new leading as Director of the Eurasian Energy Futures Initiative. To further expand our work in the energy space in the region and beyond, we're also delighted today, right here, to announce the launch of our new Global Energy Center. We've been doing work in our energy program for more than 2 decades, but we're going to ramp this up now, led by Richard Morningstar, Dick Morningstar. Many of you know him very well from his work, not just as ambassador to Azerbaijan most recently, but many other leading diplomatic positions, and before that as a business leader. And the chairman of this new initiative will be David Goldwyn, who was previously State Department Special Envoy and Coordinator for International Energy Affairs. And the person who took that job from him has now joined our board, Carlos Pascual, as has the Deputy Secretary of Energy, outgoing Dan Poneman. So all of these gentlemen, except David Goldwyn, are here. Please stand up. Let's give you a round of applause. As you can see, it's a remarkable team. At a time of unprecedented volatility and opportunity, the center will work to promote global access to affordable, reliable, and sustainable energy, devising creative responses to energy-related conflicts, and advancing energy solutions and identifying trends to help advance strategies and policies that ensure long-term prosperity and security, particularly in regions like this. Last but not least, let me recognize the heart and soul of the summit, who will now move us on to the next portion of the program, Director Orhan Tanner, who has worked with boundless creativity and energy to turn this event into a can't-miss venue for the past 3 years. I could not be more proud of what Orhan has created. Orhan, please come to the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Kempe. Your Excellency, Mr. President, Excellencies, distinguished guests, dear friends, it's my pleasure also to welcome you to the 6th edition of the Atlantic Council Energy and Economic Summit. 2014, as previous speakers mentioned, marks our 5th year in Istanbul and our 2nd year at this gorgeous venue, the Grand Tarabi Hotel. As a native of the city where I grew up and I'm currently living in, it is also my distinct pleasure to welcome you, to those of you who traveled from more than 40 countries to be here with us today. Istanbul, personally, but it also carries a special meaning for the Atlantic Council. For it's not only the venue of the choice of its flagship international event, namely the Atlantic Council Energy and Economic Summit, but it's also home to the first ever office of the Council outside of the United States. I'm also very proud, together with my very highly talented and dedicated Istanbul-based team, to be the founding members of that historic expansion. Dear guests, when we upgraded this event to its current format, or as a global summit with a regional focus 3 years ago, we picked as our inaugural summit theme the phrase, opportunities in a dynamic region. Almost everybody, naturally, they were very interested in the first part, the opportunities, but we received quite a number of questions about what exactly we meant by the phrase region. What were the boundaries? How far did it go? My simple answer to those inquiries back then was, and still is today, that I cannot define you the exact boundaries of this region, but I can certainly name the economic, commercial, and the social center of it, and that center is no other than the city of Istanbul. In light of the recent and unfortunate events in our region, to its north and to its south, we can even further add that Istanbul is also becoming a political, to be more precise, the geopolitical hub of the region as well. As we all know, the region is going through some turbulent times. It is for this reason that we decided to pick the topic of this year's summit, the concept of doing business in turbulent times. Again, I think the turbulent times part was well understood by everyone, but we already received several questions as to what exactly mean with the first part of our theme, namely doing business of our 2014 motto. Well, We like to use it in every sense of the term, and would like for you to think of it in a very similar fashion. We certainly refer to the commercial business being conducted domestically, but more importantly, across the borders between corporations and governments, and finally, between governments themselves. And we hope that our discussion of doing business over the next 2 days will not only be limited to trade, cross-border investments, or other commercial activities, but also will encompass the business of peace and the business of bringing peace and prosperity to the region and to the hundreds of millions of decent, hardworking men and women who live in this part of the world. With that, I want to thank the entire Atlantic Council leadership for their invaluable and constant support, and I would like to welcome again and thank to all of our distinguished guests for being here, and last but not least, extend my heartfelt gratitude to every member of a great team made up truly wonderful and dedicated individuals representing close to a dozen nationalities. It shows that how international we are at the Atlantic Council. It is now my distinct pleasure and privilege to introduce and invite to the podium Ambassador of the United States of America, His Excellency Ambassador John Bass, to deliver his welcoming remarks. Ambassador, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Çok teşekkürler Orhan Bey. Mr. President, Sayın Bakanı, Mr. Secretary, Commissioner, Ministers, Hanımefendiler ve Beyefendiler, good morning. I am delighted to be here on behalf of the United States Embassy here in Turkey to welcome you. We are pleased to once again support the Atlantic Council for this 6th annual Energy and Economic Summit. One of the central tenets of energy policy today is conservation and efficiency, and I intend to personify that with my remarks this morning. Given the challenging times we live in, the Atlantic Council's dynamism, focus, and advocacy, in my view, have never been more important. And given the centrality and importance of all of the issues on the agenda for this conference, it's reflected, I think, in the breadth and depth of both the official U.S. government participation in this conference, in the form of many senior officials, but I think equally in the even larger number of former U.S. government officials who are represented here today. We are delighted once again to welcome Secretary Moniz back to Turkey, and we are honored that Vice President Biden will be joining the conference on Saturday. I also want to thank our Turkish friends and partners inside and outside government for their hospitality and their contributions not simply to the success of this conference, but to the success and vitality of our strategic partnership. So on behalf of the U.S. government, welcome, hoş geldiniz, and let me welcome back to the floor President Kempe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, and we very much look forward to working with you here in Turkey and the region. We know you well from your distinguished diplomatic work before. It's now my immense pleasure to move on to the main course this morning, and that is the 3 key leaders of the international energy world. Turkish Minister for Energy and Natural Resources, Yıldız, European Commissioner for Climate Action and Energy, Miguel Arias Cañete, and U.S. Secretary of Energy, Ernest Moniz. We could not imagine a better triumvirate to officially open our 6th Energy and Economic Summit than these 3 leaders. Minister Yıldız has been at the helm of the Turkish energy sector and diplomacy since 2009. He's a veteran of this summit, but we've watched you, Mr. Minister, accomplish remarkable things in your position. Most recently, the courage you've been showing in dealing with the problems across your border and how one can most effectively deal with them, not just fixing the problems, but trying to find a way to move on to to a better world around you. You've shown courage and bravery, and we salute you for that. This summit would not exist, more than likely, if it weren't for your support and your vision in accepting our vision and working this together. We thank you, because I think we would not be here without you. We're also delighted to have Secretary Moniz back this year, who together with Minister Yıldız will co-anchor a ministerial meeting on energy infrastructure investments tomorrow morning, and will also be part of a lunch discussion with Governor Huntsman today. Secretary Moniz, your return testifies that the summit serves as a useful purpose and useful venue. As someone who runs a place of about, is it 16,000 employees? Depends how you count. It's actually more potentially than that. And we're glad to have you back. Commissioner Cañete is making his first international conference appearance in his new job, his first appearance outside of Brussels, again underscoring the importance of this platform. He's just assumed office, and we're delighted to have him here. He's got one of the most important portfolios in the Commission, some of us would say the most important, and we're eager to hear him on the challenges Europe faces on energy security front and the leadership it plays on the global scene in climate change as well. So to get us started, Minister Yıldız, the floor is yours.
Sayın Cumhurbaşkanı, değerli bakanlar, AB Enerji Komiseri, Atlantik Konseyi'nin değerli başkan ve üyeleri, sivil toplum örgütlerinin değerli üyeleri, kamu ve özel sektörün değerli temsilcileri, hanımefendiler, beyefendiler, ben de hepinize hoş geldiniz diyorum. Sizleri İstanbul'da ve Türkiye'de ülkemize görmüş olmaktan dolayı duyduğumuz memnuniyeti bir kez daha ifade ediyorum. Tabii Atlantik Konseyi'nin her geçen yıl daha da sisteme oturan ve buradaki konuşmaların ülkelerin enerji politika ve stratejilerine katkı koyan yapısından dolayı bütün emeği geçenlere teşekkür ediyorum. Tabii ki bir önceki yıldaki yaptığımız Atlantik Konseyi'ndeki konuşmalar, görüşmeler, tavsiyeler, öneriler ve eleştirilerin içinde bulunduğumuz yılda ne tür yansımalarının olduğunu, hangi konuların değişkenlik gösterdiğini, hangi konuların geçen yılki seviyede, düzeyde bulunduğunu aslında karşılaştırmak ve son bir yılında muhasebesini yapmak açısından faydalı olacağı kanaatindeyim. Uluslararası siyasetin zaman zaman enerji sektörüne yük olduğunu söylemiştik. Bunun tersi de geçerli. Enerji sektörünün de o ulusun siyasetine, o milletin siyasetine yük olduğu zamanlar da var. Ham petrol ve doğalgazın yer altındayken bir savaş gerekçesi, yer üstündeyken de bir barış gerekçesi olmuş olması aslında bu paradoksu daha iyi yönetmek zorunda olduğumuzu gösteriyor. Özellikle Türkiye'de, bölgemizde Irak, İsrail, Filistin, Suriye, İran, Rusya Federasyonu ve Ukrayna kriziyle beraber çokça tartışılması gereken ve enerji sektörü üzerindeki etkilerini değerlendireceğimiz büyük bir yapı oluştu. Ülkelerin enerji arz güvenliğini ve bütün bu kaynakların tedariki ile alakalı gelinen noktada yalnızca enerji sektörü olarak değil, uluslararası ilişkilerle beraber de ciddi bir çözüm noktasının yakalanması lazım geldiğinin altını çizmemiz lazım. Geçtiğimiz yıllardaki Atlantik Konseyi'nde, özellikle geçen yılda Irak'la alakalı konuda Kuzey Irak'taki Erbil ve Merkezi Irak hükümetinin Bağdat'ın arasındaki anlaşmazlıkların bu yıl kendini daha çok çözüm odaklı noktalara bıraktığını görüyoruz. Türkiye, Irak petrolleriyle beraber Irak'ın normalleşmesine katkı koyacak yapıyı, sistemi kurmaya çalıştığını uluslararası arenaya belirtmişti. Bunu deklare etmişti. Bu çokça tartışıldı. Bunun ne kadar hukuki olup olmadığı tartışıldı. Ve şu anda geldiğimiz noktada o yıldan bu yana, başladığından bu yana 35 tane kargonun 25 milyon varilin üzerindeki ham petrol aktarımı ile beraber bu haftanın başında geldiğimiz nokta olumlu bir nokta olarak söylenebilir. Yaklaşık 2 milyar dolar üzerindeki bir gelirin hem Bağdat'ın hem de Erbil'in, yani Irak'ın tamamının normalleşmesi adına konan bir katkı olduğunu ve bu kurulan sistem sayesinde olduğunu ve en son Bağdat'ta Erbil'in bu konuda bir uzlaşı noktasına geldiklerini sevinerek görüyoruz. Demek ki doğruyu tercih ettiği kadar güçlenen bir yapıyı, bir sistemi bir kez daha burada belirtmek isterim. Tabii TANAP'ın ne kadar gerçekleştirilebileceği, bunun yalnızca Türkiye'nin doğalgazdaki arz güvenliği ile alakalı konular için değil, aynı zamanda Avrupa Birliği üyesi ülkelerin enerji arz güvenliği ile alakalı da önemli bir çözüm noktası olduğunu söylemiştik. Ve bununla alakalı Türkiye'de kamulaştırmaların başladığını, boru ile alakalı ihalelerin yapıldığını ve bunun işçiliğiyle alakalı ihalelerin de artık sonlandırıldığını sevinerek söylemeliyiz. 2018 yılının sonuna kadar programlandığı üzere inşallah biz bu projeyi burada tamamlayacağız. Bu konuda Azerbaycan'ın ve özel şirketlerin önemli ve büyük katkısının altını çizmek isteriz. Peki bunlar değişti, neler değişmedi? Hala 1,3 milyar insanın geçen yıl yaptığımız toplantıdan sonra hala enerjiye ulaşamadıklarını görüyoruz. Bu çok ciddi bir eksiklik. Avustralya'da bu hafta başında yapılan toplantıda G20 liderleri enerji başlığının bir sonraki yılda Türkiye'nin ev sahipliği yapacağı G20 zirvesinde müstakil bir başlık olarak geçmesine karar verdiler. Enerji Bakanlarının bizatihi katılacağı ve bunun uluslararası arenaya çok ciddi mesajlarının olacağı, çevreye rağmen değil, çevreyle beraber enerji projelerinin gerçekleştirilmesine dönük gayretlerin arttırılacağı, iklim değişikliği ve çevre kaygılarının karşılanacağı bir yapının kurgulanması gerekiyor. Ekonomiler globalleşiyor, enerjiyle alakalı projeler globalleşiyor ama bir kısım politikalar ulusallaşıyor. Bu paradoksu halklarına karşı, kendi halkına karşı sorumlu olan politikacıların aynı zamanda uluslararası sermayeyi cezbetmek için ve ülkelerinde gerçekleştirmek için bu problemi çözmek zorundalar. Ve o yüzden Türkiye son bir yıl içerisinde birçok ülke için azımsanmayacak olan 7.000 megawattlık kurulu gücüne yeni kurulu güç ekledi. Bunu çok fazla önemsiyoruz. Bunu yaparken yenilenebilir enerji kaynaklarının bu oran içerisindeki payını arttırmaya gayret etti. Ve bunda da başarılı olduğumuz kanaatindeyim. Ve %30'lara yaklaşan toplam enerji payı içerisindeki yenilenebilir enerji kaynaklarının payının gerek Avrupa Birliği üyesi ülkeler gerekse dünya ortalamasının daha üzerinde olduğunu belirtmek isterim. Tabii yalnızca bununla bitmiyor. Aynı zamanda sabah yaptığımız kahvaltılı toplantıda belirtildiği üzere malzeme biliminin ilerlemesiyle beraber maliyetlerinin düştüğünü ve bundan birçok kesimin faydalanması lazım geldiğinin altını çizdik. Tabii ki İran'la alakalı P5+1'in geldiği noktanın yalnızca Türkiye açısından, yalnızca bölge açısından değil, dünya açısından da sevindirici bir nokta olduğunu ve bunun tamamlanması gereken süreçleri de devam ettireceğine olan inancımızı bir kez daha burada vurgulamak isterim. Avrupa Birliği üyesi ülkelerin doğalgazda 3 temel girdisi var. Bunlardan bir tanesi Rusya Federasyonu'nun Ukrayna üzerinden aktardığı doğalgaz. Ve bununla alakalı yaşanan krizin önümüzdeki günlerde hala Avrupa Birliği üyesi ülkelerin gündeminde kalacağına, ne yazık ki kalacağını görüyoruz. Bununla alakalı 2015 yılı Mart ayına kadar bir kısım çözümlerin üretilmiş olmasına rağmen hala kaygıların tam olarak kalkmadığını ve bununla alakalı Türkiye'nin de olası etkilenmeyle alakalı farklı çözüm önerilerinin olduğunu belirtmek isterim. Türkiye Cumhuriyeti Hükümeti Enerji Bakanı olarak da önümüzdeki hafta Moskova'da bununla alakalı da geniş bir toplantı yapacağız. Ben Atlantik Konseyi'ndeki birçok başlığın katılımcılar tarafından izlendiği kadar hükümetimizin, bürokrasimizin ve kamuyla beraber özel sektör tarafından da dikkatle izlendiğini, bu manada Atlantik Konseyi'nin bundan sonraki yıllarda da gelişerek, büyüyerek, güçlenerek devam edeceğine olan inancımı bir kez daha belirtmek istiyorum ve hepinizi bu duygularla, saygıyla, sevgiyle selamlıyorum.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome EU Commissioner for Climate Action and Energy, Miguel Arias Cañete.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, colleagues, it's an honor for me to address such a distinguished audience. And it's no coincidence that I decided to accept the generous offer of the Atlantic Council to participate in this summit in my first international trip as European Union Climate and Energy Commissioner. We live at a time of remarkable changes and shifts in the international energy landscape. We also, in the European Union, are facing increasingly complex climate and energy challenges. Let me mention the most significant ones. Security of energy supply has become one of the main energy policy priorities due to the latest events in the international arena from the Middle East to Ukraine. The global demand for energy is on the rise, and this puts pressure on the world energy system. There is an increasing competition for resources with more and more countries from Asia and elsewhere. And the pressing climate problem requires immediate action to steer the energy system onto a cleaner and safer path. Europe's energy bill is growing. We now spend more than €1 billion a day in imports of energy, and this is affecting our competitiveness. So here are the challenges. Solving them will not be a walk in the park. That I can assure you. This is why President Juncker set out our joint ambition to build a resilient energy union with a forward-looking climate change policy for the next 5 years. Securing sustainable, reliable, and affordable energy supplies for European citizens and the economy has been a long-standing goal of the European Union energy policy and will remain the ultimate goal of the energy union. The impetus given by the entry in office of the new Commission only 20 days ago, geopolitical developments, and the recent agreement by European Union leaders on the 2030 climate and energy framework have created the right political momentum. As you might know, our 2030 headline targets are a binding domestic greenhouse reduction target of at least 40% compared to 1990, a renewables target of at least 27% that is binding at the European Union level, an indicative energy efficiency target of at least 27% to be reviewed by 2020, having in mind a 30% target, and the objective of arriving at a 50% target for electricity interconnections in 2030. You may wonder why the European Union is setting these targets for 2013 now, 16 years in advance. The answer is simple. It makes sense to do it now from the energy, from the economic, from the competitiveness, and from the sustainable perspective. Postponing action only makes things more difficult and expensive. From the energy policy perspective, the European Union 2030 climate and energy policy will ensure that the significant investment needed to modernize European Union energy system is there, and this will help put us on the pathway to a low-carbon economy. The 2030 target serves as a key step towards a strong international climate agreement to be adopted in Paris 2015, and we are very happy to see that our international partners are answering the European Union call for climate action. We welcome warmly the announcement of the United States and China on the post-2020 actions on climate. We are also encouraged to see that the G20 leaders stand together in the resolve to reach a legally binding agreement that is applicable to all in Paris. To secure a strong international climate agreement in line with the 2-degree target is key that major economies and other countries come forward with their contributions well ahead of the Paris COP. We are also putting a strong emphasis on renewables and energy efficiency. When it comes to them, one key aspect of the 2030 climate and energy framework is flexibility. The 2030 targets for renewables and energy efficiency are not translated into nationally binding targets. Unlike the 2020 targets, this time they allow individual member states the freedom to set their own higher national targets. The new governance system will be the main implementation tool for the agreed 2030 targets. The Commission will now propose a reliable and transparent governance system without adding any unnecessary administrative burden. Targeted funding is also of high importance. Part of this funding should come from the €300 billion investment plan announced by the new Commission President Juncker, notably regarding infrastructure, renewables, and energy efficiency. The 2030 climate and energy framework will decrease European Union's net energy import bill, will mitigate the risk of high energy prices for gas and oil, and will decrease the vulnerability of the European Union economy and contribute significantly to our energy security. We all need to be aware that our economic future is one that offers our economy a safe and sustainable energy system. The European Union leaders also reached an important agreement on medium and long-term measures concerning energy security, such as the implementation of critical projects of common interest in the gas sector. In this respect, the Commission will ensure better coordination of efforts to complete such critical projects and explore all possible sources of European Union financing. Let me conclude by stating our determination to build of a resilient energy union with a forward-looking climate change policy. We have to bring European Union integration and cooperation in the energy area to the next level. The energy union goes far beyond from what can be achieved by European Union member states' policies alone. We in the Commission intend to come forward with a first paper setting out details of the energy union during the first quarter of 2015. It is clear that only a more European approach will ensure that we meet these challenges in an effective and affordable manner. As I said, not a walk in the park, but I am convinced we will get there. Thank you for your attention.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome United States Secretary of Energy, Ernest Moniz.
Well, thank you, and first, of course, thanks to the Atlantic Council for having us back again, and hopefully not causing too many problems here. But I want to say how pleased I am to be able to, and honored to help open this conference along with Minister Yıldız, a great friend and host, and Commissioner Canete, because as we look forward
and I'll come back to the name of this meeting in terms of turbulence. As we look forward to the next year, certainly relationships and coordination of the United States, the EU, and Turkey are going to be very, very central to many of the challenges that we face. Orhan earlier said how Atlantic Council meetings have gone from talking about opportunities in a dynamic region now to doing business in turbulent times. And I'm going to resort to my pre-political life as a physicist and talk about the word turbulence now in these terms, namely turbulence as a flow regime characterized by chaotic property changes. And chaos in physics means that even an incremental change will lead to unpredictable outcomes in a system. So I think really what we have to be focused on is how do we get from that turbulence back to dynamic, which has many very positive, at least possibilities for us to manage. And in fact, I think the idea of needing large changes, large transformations of our energy sector, both in the context of climate change and in the context of energy security, is something that we need, and the issue is how do we manage it, how do we manage the pace, how do we manage the scale, so that we can in fact address these issues in a way that helps the economy, the environment, and security for everyone, not only in the U.S., the EU, and Turkey, but more broadly. Now, I'm going to have a chance to elaborate on my remarks at lunchtime, so I'll try to not repeat everything, but here just to say that that if we look at these issues of turbulence, chaos, dynamism, we certainly have much to talk about. And Minister Yıldız and Commissioner Cañete have already referred to them. Clearly, the whole situation in the Middle East and North Africa presents a whole host of challenges. And in the energy sector in particular, I just would like to focus that it's easy to focus on the challenges, and there are many challenges. There are many what are often called unplanned outages in terms of oil supply, for example. But we also we also have some positive signs to build on. We have seen some restored production in some countries that are still not fully past the turbulent period. Minister Yıldız referred to the recent Baghdad-Erbil agreement. So these are signs, these are things we need to build on in this region. European energy security, again, the Commissioner referred to that, and I will spend a lot of time, relatively a lot of time in my remarks at lunch. Clearly, the situation, the transgressions in Ukraine have stimulated a very comprehensive look at energy security. What I would like to emphasize now, and I'll elaborate at lunch, but I want to emphasize that we, our colleagues in Europe, are very committed to the idea that energy security is not something for just every individual country to consider. It is a collective responsibility among allies and friends, because the energy insecurity of any of us affects what all of us can do. So I will, again, come back to that, but really want to emphasize that and that point. Another area of continuing change is the remarkable story about energy production in the United States and North America, production in U.S. and Canada, dramatic energy reform in Mexico, really opportunity that has global implications. We are seeing, of course, today, partly driven by this production in North America, reduced petroleum prices, for example, This clearly has challenges for some producing countries. On the other hand, it's great for consumers everywhere, and hopefully can help provide the kind of economic stimulus that, of course, will address many other problems that we see in our societies. Sub-Saharan Africa, you would just mention, we held since the Atlantic Council meeting last year in the United States, the President held a major U.S. Africa Leaders Summit, and prior to that, we held an energy ministerial in Africa. And this is a case where, again, we are seeing, as we all know, many challenges right now in sub-Saharan Africa, but once again, not lose sight of the opportunity. What we saw when we were there in June with over 40 African countries was a continent with enormous opportunity and a critical period ahead in these next 10 years, where transformation of energy, increase in energy services. Minister Yıldız mentioned the over 1 billion people without energy services. Many of those are in sub-Saharan Africa. A question again of the interplay of energy opportunity with governance challenges. And I think working together, this is another major opportunity to focus on reaching a positive dynamic situation as opposed to one of turbulence. Climate change, again, the Commissioner in particular mentioned this in the road to Paris. The EU, US, China, in the joint presidential announcements last week, I think give us hope on the road to Paris. But I'd like to emphasize as well another feature which is underlying this hope is the dramatic changes we are seeing in the technology and costs of alternative energy. The dramatic reduction in costs in wind and solar, for example, for renewables, in efficiency technologies like LED lighting, in cost of batteries for electrifying part of our transportation fleet. Sometimes I think we don't look up enough and notice what's happening. Those battery costs, for example, a 60% reduction in 4 years is quite remarkable. So the lesson, I think, is that technology, innovation, cost reduction is going to play a tremendous role, and frankly, I hope, make the diplomacy a lot easier as those costs keep coming down. So again, these are real opportunities that we have to get past these turbulent times. One last point on the reductions of the costs of clean energy technologies that I think is very important, particularly when combined with the efficiency gains that is so central to all of our plans to meet our climate and economic and security goals, is that, and appropriate to the title of this meeting, we will be facing major challenges as well in business models in the energy system. And innovating those business models may be more difficult in some ways than the innovation in the technology space. But again, it's exciting, and it's the kind of thing that we can discuss here and hopefully make progress in. So I mentioned earlier collective responsibility in the energy security arena, but we also have collective opportunity based upon some of these factors. And the developments that we must capture and take hold of in many of these regions that are currently facing political challenges. So I will look forward to getting back with you at lunch and to elaborating on some of these points. And thanks once again to the Atlantic Council for having us back.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. And thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you particularly, Mr. Secretary, for giving us one of the most disturbing definitions of turbulence I've ever heard. And also the quote that could be the rallying cry for this session, which is energy security is not something for every individual country to consider. It's a collective responsibility. So in that spirit, we'll reconvene in Ballroom 1 at 10:30 a.m. for the Global Energy Outlook, otherwise known for regular summer goers as the Fatih Birol Carlos Pascual Show. Fatih Birol and Carlos Pascual, as you know, are two of the leading thinkers in the world on energy issues. One, the chief economist of the International Energy Agency, and the other I already introduced, but I failed to mention that he is at the same time got a history of being former ambassador to Ukraine and Mexico, both of which situations Secretary Moniz mentioned. We're delighted to welcome you to the summit. Please enjoy yourselves on the banks of the Bosporus.